Okay, so removing the wind as a navigational issue, does it really affect the fish on Ray Roberts or these North Texas lakes?
So yes, it will, in multiple ways. You know, like you said, the wind's definitely going to make it hard for us to drive around, but it's going to change some of the fishing stuff. First of all, it's going to get some stuff muddy, like real muddy. So that could hurt an area right there where you couldn't catch fish that you were. And then, like a lot of the offshore stuff here in that mid to deeper range that I like to fish, A, you can't sit on it because there's 4 and 5 footers out there, and B, you know, bass don't like to be, a lot of this is rock. You know, I'm not giving anything away there, but you know, bass don't like to sit on a rock when they have 4 and 5 foot rollers on top of them, rolling them all around the rock. So it can definitely hurt some offshore stuff and make some stuff muddy to make some fish not bite.
Okay, so given the wind, let's take the navigational side out of that. How does it really affect these fish as far as where they position, where they really like to be, but where they might be right now?
Absolutely. You know, up shallow, how they are, if they do get shallow with this warming trend that we have, a lot of times, I mean, 6 and 7 footers have a lot of big pull on shallow water fish. I mean, you got to think, if they're sitting in 2 foot of water and you got a 6 foot wave, they're going to get beat. So a lot of them either might have to pull off the bank or get somewhere a little bit out of the wind so it doesn't muddy up the water, anything like that. So it definitely could be a little different out there with the wind blowing, with the warm weather coming. So nobody really knows the true outcome, but hopefully we're excited to find out.
Okay, so given the wind out there, take that out as a navigational issue. How is that repositioning the fish, if you will, considering where they might want to be, but where they have to be now?
Gotcha. So probably the most obvious one just is where it's going to position the bait. And even in practice, you are seeing the areas that the wind has been hitting the hardest have bait, small little bait, floating around on the surface, and seagulls coming down and picking them off just because the amount of bait that has been pushed in these areas from the wind has really congregated them compared to the protected side of the lake.
Let's take the wind out of the navigation side of this. How does that reposition these fish in terms of where they might want to be headed versus where they got to be?
So the interesting thing is it never blows out of the same direction twice. It blows out of a different direction. So it makes it very challenging because we get a 40-mile-an-hour wind out of the south, and then we turn around and get a 40-mile-an-hour wind out of the north. So there's no part of the lake that's not affected by it. But honestly, I think we're affected by it much more than the fish are. These fish are used to it. Wind blows in Texas. There's no trees here, you know, so the wind blows all the time. So other than it doesn't make it easy to fish, I don't really think it affects the fish.
Okay, so take the wind out of it as far as navigation. How is that reposition these fish versus where they want to be going versus where they got to be right now?
The thing that probably most people aren't talking about is that there's like the whole lake is not fishing the same. You can actually get in a winter pattern all the way towards the dam, and then you're going to find fish in the spawn towards the back and the creeks, and then everything in the middle. So what's cool about this tournament is like you've got fish in 3 different stages right now over the entire lake. So that's the big one, is like someone's going to pick their confidence, pick their poison and fish to that, and if that's the deal, then they're going to capitalize on that.
Hey guys, Patrick Walters here. We're here at the 2025 Bassmaster Classic in Fort Worth. Going to be on Ray Roberts. And this week the biggest factor is going to be the wind. The wind is the biggest factor, especially during March. I mean, March winds, it always changes the fishery. The thing is, they want to be up shallow, they want to be in the dirt, they want to be in certain parts of the lake. But when you have such high winds, especially in North Texas, I mean, we're talking about 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained winds, gusting to 50s. It dirties a lot of the water up in some areas where they may not like that, but what it really does is it's the surface temperature. The surface temperature, it doesn't allow the water to warm up as quick as it usually should. Like if it's nice calm days, that water will really warm up and the fish will run shallow. When you have the wind swirling around the lake, it kind of keeps the lake in, I'm not going to say turmoil, but it keeps it turned up, and it kind of keeps those fish offshore more than heading to the bank right away.
So the wind actually complicates things in a big way, but it also makes things a little more predictable. One is when the wind's blowing, for example, out of the south, it's going to blow the surface water off to the north. and it's going to make those north pockets a little warmer, sometimes 3 to 4 degrees warmer. And those fish that are in that area will then get warmer and actually start to progress towards the bank a little bit faster. Opposite of that is the fish on the south end. As that surface temperature gets blown off, it's replaced with deep water that is cooler. A lot of times the water temperature can drop in those bays and those areas on the south end, and that will actually slow down that progression. So just knowing that, you can actually fish a lot of times on the windy side of the lake for that warmer water. A lot of people think I'm going to get out of the wind so I can fish, but a lot of times just getting down to that windy side, that water is going to get a little warmer a little quicker.